and welcome back to She Investigates, the podcast where we investigate all things weird. I'm your host, Gwen Ross, and I definitely have a weird story for you today. We are going to be talking about the death of Ellen Greenberg. And there is so much to this case, you guys. Your minds are going to be blown. But first, let's catch up. So, the program that I use to push my podcast out to all of the different podcast applications, it will tell me where my downloads are coming from. And I actually have some international listeners. So I wanted to give a shout out to the two biggest countries besides the United States that I'm getting downloads from. And that is Italy and Australia. So if you are listening from Italy or Australia, thank you so much for being here and for listening. Appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. I would love if you commented on my Instagram. I would love to know who you are, get to know my listeners a little bit more. And I don't really have a whole lot to talk about in Let's Catch Up this week, but I'm just wondering if my family is the only one that has been perpetually sick for the last 3 months. My birthday was a couple weeks ago. My kids were all barfy on my birthday, so that was fun. And now my kids have strep. So I'm pretty much over this whole winter thing and ready to just move on to the next season because we are just perpetually sick. And I'm hoping that we are all better for Valentine's Day and that we can actually celebrate, even though Valentine's Day, I don't know, those of you that have kids, do you guys still go out for Valentine's Day? Because it's kind of just become a family affair as we've had kids and we do the whole heart-shaped pizza for dinner and we get Valentine's for our kids. So it's not really so much about me and my husband anymore as it is about showing love for our kids. So hopefully we're not the only ones in that boat, but I would just be ecstatic for a happy, healthy Valentine's this year. And with that, let's jump into today's case. So I actually have a special guest with me today, and that is my husband, Patrick. Say hello.
What up? How are you?
So the reason why I brought Patrick on is because I feel like some stories just need an audience, and I just needed somebody to tell this story to. So he's going to be playing the role of our audience today.
Oh, I can't wait, because you've only told me just a little teensy bit about this case, and already just from the little tidbits you've given me, I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, this case is pretty insane and pretty involved. And because of that, we're actually going to be doing this in 2 parts. I need to give a shout out to Gavin Fish. He has an amazing investigative channel on YouTube, and he actually has a 17-part series on this murder investigation.
17 parts?
Yes, and I have watched every single one this week. I've been in deep this week.
You're deep.
Yes,
I get it. Yes. I can't. Now I'm really more excited.
And he also has almost 2,000 documents that are all pieces of evidence in this case. So it is involved, and I felt like if I tried to do it all in one part, that it would kind of be like you guys trying to drink from the fire hose, It was just too much. So we're going to break it down. We're going to do it in 2 parts. And I'm really excited for this. I hope that you guys are as interested and think this case is as crazy as I do. And with that, I'm just going to jump into it. So Ellen Greenberg, she was 27 years old, and she was a first grade teacher in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia.
Super Bowl champs!
Yeah, go Eagles. And she was actually newly engaged to her fiance, Sam Goldberg. And they had been engaged for about 3 months. And before this incident, they had just sent out save the date cards for their wedding that was coming up in August of that year. She was an only child, and her parents described her as being really upbeat and cheerful, happy, just a really bubbly personality. But in the weeks leading up to Ellen's death, things had kind of changed a little bit, and nobody really knew why. Her personality was just morphing a little bit. She seemed much more subdued. She seemed indecisive, and she seemed really anxious. She told her parents that she was having a lot of anxiety about her job, and she wanted to come home. She'd actually texted her parents a couple of times to see if she could just come home and be with them. And her parents, they don't live in Philadelphia. They live a little bit west of Philadelphia. So for her to come home and live with them again would have required her to give up her job. So her parents, of course, are trying to convince her that she needs to stay and try to work things out. And they ended up coming to an agreement that they would let her come home if she tried going to therapy and tried seeing a psychiatrist.
Oh, because they want her to get help. Yeah.
Right. They could sense that she was going through something. And rather than just letting her come home and run away from everything, they wanted her to kind of work through it, you know?
Yeah.
Also of note is that she had actually been talking to her cousin who lived in Philadelphia as well, leading up to this event, and asking if she could live with her as well. So this whole thing just seems really strange because she's engaged, she's getting married, supposedly very in love with her fiance, and yet she's asking to go live with her parents, her friends, her cousin.
It sounds, okay, I don't want to be like jumping to conclusions or anything, but it kind of sounds like she's trying to get away any way she can.
Exactly. And so she finds a psychiatrist that she goes to. She's trying to make her parents happy, trying to work through this. And the psychiatrist ends up diagnosing her with anxiety. And she prescribes her 2 different medications. She prescribes her Zoloft and she prescribes her Xanax. Now, full transparency, these are both medications that I have been on because I have my own struggles with anxiety. And when I was put on these medications, specifically the Zoloft, I was told by my provider, this is not the kind of medication that you take it and you instantly feel the effects of it. This is the kind of medication that slowly builds up in your system and eventually levels you out. And that can take weeks. I actually asked my sister, who's a pharmacist, how long you should expect before you are feeling the effects of Zoloft. And she said with SSRIs, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks before you're really truly feeling the effects of the drug. But after just 5 days of being on these medications, she goes back to the psychiatrist again and is like, this is not working for me. I'm not feeling any better. I feel exactly the same. And the psychiatrist takes her off of these medications and actually puts her on new medications, which seems very strange to me.
Like, why would the doctor... I don't understand that. Like, you'd think the doctor would know.
Right. That was my thought as well. But the doctor prescribes her Ambien and Klonopin to try to help her get some sleep because she's having difficulty sleeping because she is so anxious. So it appears that after a couple of days, a week of taking these medications, that she's doing much better. She texts her mom, the Klonopin is working, thank goodness. And so it seems like she's doing a lot better. She's seeming a lot happier to her family and friends. And that's kind of where we're at when on January 26, 2011, this event took place, her untimely death. And on that day, there was a nor'easter storm that was blowing in.
Oh.
And that was my reaction as well. Now, me and Patrick, we actually both lived in New York for a while. Do you want to describe for us what a nor'easter is?
Oh my gosh. So, guys, anybody who's living and listening in New York, you guys automatically know what a nor'easter is. Basically, when a nor'easter is all this lake effect snow that it feels like the heavens just open up and an entire blanket of snow instantly just falls on wherever you're living, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's like almost like instantaneous. It is the craziest snowstorm experience I've ever seen.
Right. It is a huge storm, and because of that, her school actually decided to close early and send everybody home because they wanted people to be able to get home before the storm rolled in. So Ellen got off work early. She went to the gas station. She filled up her car with gas, and then she headed home. And according to her laptop records, she was working on grades that were due the next day. And her fiance comes home at around 4:45. He decides that he is going to go to the gym, which at first sounded...
What?
At first that sounded strange to me because I was like, okay, this huge storm is blowing in and you're going to the gym. But let me explain. They live in like a luxury apartment building, and the building actually has a gym inside of the building itself. So he doesn't actually even have to leave the building to go to the gym. It's just in the basement of this building. So he gets ready. He goes to the gym. He works out for like 30 minutes, which is not that long, but whatever. I'm not going to throw shade because
I'm not working out that long.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
So he comes back up from working out, tries to get in the apartment, and he can't because it's locked. Now, I'm not talking like the doorknob is locked. Like, he can unlock the doorknob with his key, but there is a secondary lock that the best way that I can describe it is if you've ever been to a hotel and they have on the door, like, it's like a flip bar latch that you flip over. So the door can actually open a couple of inches, but beyond that, you can't get past the bar.
So it's not like the chain, it's like the hook thing.
Yes,
okay,
like the
hook.
All
right, I got it, yeah.
It's a little bit stronger, maybe a little bit more secure than the chain.
I would imagine, yeah.
But he can't get past this bar lock. So he's knocking on the door, he's calling for Ellen. He calls her cell phone multiple times. He's sending her emails and just no response. So he eventually goes down to the lobby of the building where the security guard is, and he asks this security guard if he will help him break into the apartment. And the security guard is like, no, dude, that is against our company policy. I cannot help you break into the apartment. I can't help you commit vandalism. And just so you know, if you do this, you'll be responsible for the damages. Well, that did not deter Sam Goldberg,
of course,
who took the elevator back up to the apartment and started sending a series of angry texts to his fiancée, Ellen. Now, I'm going to read some of those text messages to you, what they said, in the order that he sent them. The first one says, "Hello. Open the door. What are you doing? I'm getting pissed. Hello? You better have an excuse. What the F? Ah, you have no idea." So after he sends these text messages, he makes the decision, okay, I'm going to break into this apartment.
Okay, pause. If this is me and I left you and you're not answering the door, yes, I would be sending you text messages, but my text messages would be like, hey, are you okay? Will you just answer me so I know you're okay?
Exactly.
Like, that's a little aggressive, right?
There doesn't really seem to be any worry in this. It's more just all straight anger.
Yeah.
He's just mad that she's not answering the door. So he finally decides he's going to break down the door. So he breaks open the door, and what he finds is horrific. He finds his fiancée, Ellen Greenberg, lying on the floor with a pool of blood.
Whoa.
So he does what any of us would do and dials 911. And I want to go through this 911 call with you because there are a couple of things in this call that make me go, huh? So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you, and we'll...
So you got the audio?
Yes.
All right.
So, and we're going to pause it and talk about a couple of things during this call, okay?
Help! I need everything now. I just walked to my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come. Help.
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is this a house or apartment?
Oh no. Oh no.
Apartment.
It's an apartment.
What apartment number?
Please hurry, please.
Where is she bleeding from?
I don't know. I can't tell.
No. So you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie!
You don't know where she's bleeding from? Can't see
Ellie!
where the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, I think. But it's everywhere.
Okay, so
it's everywhere.
She might have fallen. Do you know what happened?
She may have slipped. There's blood on the table. Her face is a little purple.
Okay, hold on for rescue for her. Stay on the phone.
Philadelphia Fire Department 842. What's the address? No,
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please hurry.
4601 Flat Rock?
Yes.
What's wrong?
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. Like she's not responding.
Okay, is she breathing? Look at her chest. I need you to calm down, and I need you to look at her chest. It's really.
I really don't think she is.
Listen to me. Someone's on the way. Look at her chest. Is she flat on her back?
She's on her back, so I bring her.
Look at her chest and tell me if it's going up and down, up and down.
I don't see her moving.
Okay, do you know how to do CPR?
I don't.
Okay, I can tell you what to do, okay, until they get there. I want you to keep her flat on her.
God.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, okay.
Are you willing to do CPR with me over the phone until they get there?
I have to, right?
Okay, so get her flat on her back, bare her chest.
Wait a minute. Okay, so I have a question.
Okay.
Did he just say, I guess I have to?
Yes. And this was actually a part that stuck out to me as well. Because if I was in this situation, I would not be saying, I guess I have to. I would be saying, yes, tell me what to do. I want to try to save this person's life. Of course I will do CPR. But he almost sounds irritated, like, well, I don't have any other choice, so sure, let's do it.
And here's another thing. It almost sounds like, I don't want to start jumping to conclusions because, you just don't want to do that.
Right.
But, like, it also feels like he's establishing alibi. Like, I was out doing this. I was out doing this. The door was locked. And, like, you know what I mean?
He does take a very long time to get to what actually happened to Ellen. He says, I was at the gym. I came back. The door was locked. I broke it down after half an hour. I did this. I did that. It takes him a long time to actually get to what's going on with the victim.
And it's a little odd to me that, like, okay, he sees there's a pool. He says there's a pool of blood.
Right.
But yet he doesn't understand where she's bleeding from?
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
All right. Yeah.
Chest, okay? You want to rip her shirt off. Okay? You kneel down by her side.
Oh, my God. Ellie, please.
Listen, you can't freak out, sir, because you
Okay, I'm trying not. Her shirt won't come off. It's a zipper. Oh, my God. She stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell on a knife. Oh, no. Her knife's sticking out.
Her what?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
Okay, well.
Okay.
What?
So, this is so odd to me because if you remember earlier in the call, the dispatcher specifically says to him, is she breathing? Look at her chest. Look at her chest. She says that to him twice. He acts like he's looked at her chest and has established that she's not breathing, and yet he missed a 10-inch knife sticking out of it? Like,
and it's just, and again, it goes back to my question. He says he doesn't know where she's bleeding from. Is he not noticed the freaking knife in her chest?
Yeah, it's very strange to me. It's also very strange to me that he immediately jumps to, she stabbed herself.
Yes.
Not, she's been stabbed. It's, she stabbed herself.
One of two things. Either she's been stabbed or somebody stabbed her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That would be my first reaction.
Yeah. So, very interesting. Let's keep going.
Okay, well, don't touch it.
Okay, so I just let her down here now? I mean, what do I do?
No, I mean, you can't, if the knife is in her chest, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do CPR at this time.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Police, which operator? 277.
Is someone coming here?
Yes, they are. You said 4601 Flat Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay, someone's on the way. And the knife is still inside?
Wait, so what?
The knife is still inside of her?
Yes, I didn't take it out.
Was it her chest or what area?
It's in her chest. It looks like it's right in her heart.
Okay, someone's on the way out there. Okay, just get.
Oh my God! Okay,
how old is she?
She's 27.
27, and there's no sign of life at all. Like,
No, please don't be. What?
Pinch her under her arm and tell me if she responds to pain.
She's Ellie. She's not. Her arm and her hands are still warm. I don't know if that means, but there's blood everywhere. I mean.
I know, but you can't, and the knife is still inside of her. How far? Can you see how far it went in?
It looks pretty deep.
Okay.
It looks straight, and it's a long knife.
Don't touch anything. Yeah, don't touch anything. Okay.
I'm not touching anything. I can't believe this, though.
So wait, it was just you there with her?
We're the only ones here.
And she ran in the door, you said latched it shut?
No, I went downstairs to work out, and when I came back up, the door was latched. Like, it was, it wasn't like it was, it was like locked from the inside, and I'm yelling, so I'm
Was your house
yelling and
broken into?
No.
So there's no sign of a break-in?
No sign of a break-in at all. I mean, there will be when you get here because I had to break the latch, but.
Wait, so he's saying, was there a break-in? No, there's not. He sounds like he's really quick to say, no, there's not a break-in.
Well, and if you believe the timeline, he enters the apartment, sees her, and immediately calls 911. So when did he have time to go through the apartment and determine nothing's been taken, nothing's out of place?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me that he's so certain that a break-in has not happened at this point in time when he has just barely found her. So that's a little strange to me as well.
To get in.
Okay, 4601 Flat Rock, and this is a house, right?
It's an apartment. Flat Rock apartment.
Okay, that'll help.
Oh my god. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Okay, so that is the end of the call. And within just a couple of minutes, the emergency responders arrive to the apartment. And when they get to the apartment, they don't find Ellen flat on her back like he described in the 911 call. She's actually like slumped up against the corner cabinets. She has like her shoulders are kind of slumped over, her head is slumped over, but she's not flat on her back. So that to me says she either never was flat on her back or she's been moved.
Why would you, like... It's confusing to me why he would say, she's flat on her back, I'm about ready to do CPR, because you gotta be flat on your back to do CPR. That's weird.
Right. That was very strange. She also has in her left hand a nearly pristine white hand towel, and her right hand is in kind of a loose fist.
Okay.
So it's pretty obvious to the responders that she is dead and that they're not going to be able to save her. She does still have the knife sticking out of her chest like he indicates in the 911 call. But this turns into more of an investigation rather than a rescue mission at this point. I do want to mention one more thing before we move on to the investigation itself, and that is that 911 was not actually the first call that Sam Goldberg made that evening.
What?
Before he had broken into the apartment, he was on the phone with his cousin, Kamian Schwartzman. He spoke briefly with him, and then a couple minutes later, he received a call back from his uncle, Kamian's father, James Schwartzman, and that was another brief conversation. Now, he's very close with both of them. We have no idea what was said in those conversations, but something that may come back into play later in this story is that James Schwartzman is a very prominent member of this community. He is a lawyer himself. So I don't know why he was calling his lawyer uncle, but his uncle was a lawyer. He also was on a board that like investigated other lawyers to make sure that they were making ethical decisions and keeping everything on the up and up. So
so this dude's calling a pretty established lawyer prior to
discovering her.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This is getting more and more sus.
Okay, so moving on to the investigation part. So Sam has already kind of established in this phone call with 911 that he believes that it is suicide. And I feel like that kind of tainted this case from the get-go. I feel like all of the people that started investigating this case started looking at it through those glasses.
That just seems, because it just seems odd that like he would, again, going back, he would say she stabbed herself. Why wouldn't he say she's been stabbed or somebody stabbed her?
So one of the things that he points to establish this as a suicide is that the door was locked from the inside. She was the only one in the apartment, and the only other way to get into their apartment would have been an outside balcony, but they live on the 6th floor. So unless you're Spider-Man and you're scaling the building, that in and of itself is a challenge. And remember that nor'eastern was blowing in and there was already snow on their balcony that did not have footprints or anything in it.
Oh, and trust me, ain't nobody climbing up a building during a nor'easter.
Right,
Like,
right.
It ain't happening.
So that was one of the things that he pointed to it being a suicide, that she was completely by herself. Nobody could have locked that bar flip latch after they left. So that was one thing that he pointed to. So on the scene, there is an examiner from the medical examiner's office, or I should say an investigator. The actual pathologist that is going to do the autopsy is not here, but that is kind of standard procedure that they just have an investigator that will relay the information to the medical examiner. So this investigator, I've got to be honest, I feel like he did a very surface level investigation. I feel like he did a quick look around because I feel like they had already decided this is a suicide.
Because Sam had established
Yes.
it during the call.
Yes.
So that's the first impression they get is this 911 call.
Exactly.
Okay.
I feel like this case was never really given a fair shot. It was always looked at through the eyes of, this is a suicide. He also, I know, mentioned that she had been on these medications, that she was having some mental health struggles, and that really didn't do anything to, loosen this confirmation bias that I feel like was going on. It only made them think even more that it was a suicide. So then the investigator for the medical examiner's office photographs the apartment, and he finds a couple of things that I think are really strange. He finds a half-made fruit salad that it appears that Ellen was making at the time of her death. There's blueberries that have been washed. There is an orange that is freshly peeled, which if you eat oranges frequently, you don't usually peel them until right before you're about to eat them because they'll just dry out. But there's all of these things on the counter to indicate that she was making some type of a fruit salad.
So you just are in the middle, not the end, the middle of making a fruit salad and decide to kill yourself?
Yeah, it's very strange. Not only that, the knife that was in her chest was actually from a knife block from their own kitchen. And this knife block had been turned over, and a couple of the other knives had spilled into the sink, but they were clean. There was nothing on them. If you've ever picked up a knife block, the block that all of the knives are stored in, they're heavy. They're meant to be heavy so that they won't tip over because they're holding dangerous knives.
The last thing you want is an accident so that manufacturers know what they're doing.
So that to me indicated that there was a struggle. There was a picture taken of it, but apparently the investigator didn't really think that it was that big of a deal.
That's so strange.
The investigator was also told about Ellen's fiance being locked out and that he had to force his way back into the apartment. And he took a picture of the door lock. Now, when I heard that he had to break into the apartment, I'm picturing the lock completely busted, maybe ripping off some of the door frame with it as it goes in.
Because if it's me, I'm busting through that thing.
No. This door lock has very minimal damage. I'm going to throw the picture up on my Instagram for this case. But if you were to look at this door lock, you are not instantly thinking, this is a door that has been broken into. Some of the screws look a little bit loose on the latch part of it, but that's it.
If you because I'm looking at the picture, if I'm pounding through this door, that latch is just broken completely off.
Right. So, but it seems the investigator just kind of took that at face value that the door had been kicked in. So, another thing that he did not do, which I feel like could have been massive evidence in this case, is he did not take Ellen's body temperature. And that can be used to help determine what time she was actually killed.
Yeah.
If she was killed during that short window when Sam was at the gym, or if she was killed beforehand. But because this is a suicide, that was not deemed important information.
Oh.
So he didn't take her temperature. So he, after doing his investigation, he determines that she has been stabbed 10 times in the chest. That she has kind of some shallower marks and then the kill stabbing wound that is to her heart. He did fail to notice a lot of things, which we will get back to when we go to her actual autopsy.
But I'm going to pause you. You're telling me that they still are going with the suicide route when she's got 10 stab wounds?
Yes.
Who be stabbing themselves 10 times?
I know. So I'm going to tell you exactly what he said. He said there was a kitchen-type knife protruding from Ellen's chest. Further observations reveal several other superficial wounds on Ellen. There was also a stream of dried blood that was running horizontally across her face, from the side of her nose towards her left ear. even though her body was in like a sitting up slumped position, which goes against the laws of gravity.
The blood would be dripping down.
Exactly.
It wouldn't go across your face.
Exactly. So there is another indication that she was moved.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting to me. So at this scene, guess who shows up at the scene?
Like another detective or something? Like
Nope. Cousin Camion.
What?
And Uncle James.
No way!
They show up to the scene. They talk to the investigators as well. They talk to Sam.
How do they even have access to it?
Well, this crime scene was very poorly preserved because, like I said, it was seen through the eyes of a suicide. And these police, even though they had not completely ruled out homicide because they did not have that authority is the medical examiners alone, they had pretty much been judge and jury and decided.
Just operating that way under assumption.
Yes, exactly. Operating that way. Did not secure the crime scene. So.
Uncle Jimmy.
Yes.
Coming on. Jeez.
Yes. Okay, so Ellen's body is taken to the medical examiner so that she can have a proper autopsy, finally.
And Uncle Jimmy's staying at the apartment right now?
He is not. However, the following morning, very early in the morning, Uncle Jimmy, calls the apartment manager, Melissa Ware, and they want to get into the apartment building. The reason why is, now, Ellen's family was Jewish, and when somebody dies in the Jewish faith, they want to bury them pretty quickly.
Of course.
So her funeral was going to be happening very quickly. And the reason why they wanted to get into the apartment was because they wanted to get a suit for Sam Goldberg for the funeral. Now, the apartment manager is hesitant, as she should be.
Yeah.
And she calls the police department to see if she should let them in or not. And the police department say, there's no reason why you can't let him in. This is not a crime scene. We're not securing this scene at all. That's just fine. And
because of the dumb, just suicide operation? Oh my gosh.
And also, not only that, they also gave her the phone number for a crime scene cleanup company so that she can get this place completely cleaned. Now, keep in mind...
So Uncle Jimmy can get the... What?
Her autopsy is not even finished at this point. And the medical examiner has not said at this point whether he believes her death was a suicide or a homicide. But the police department is completely operating under the assumption that this is going to be called a suicide. We don't need to preserve this at all. Go ahead, get whatever you want out of it, get it cleaned. That's fine.
They're just basically giving Uncle Jimmy, I don't know why I just say it that way, but they're giving Uncle Jimmy just like free reign to just completely destroy any evidence.
Right. And I don't know how big of a piece of evidence this is, but the crime scene cleanup was actually paid for by Uncle Jimmy. He offered to pay for it. I don't know if that's him being a nice guy or if that's him wanting to, like, get this done. I don't know.
Or cause a degree of separation from Sam.
I don't know. But either way, Melissa Ware, the apartment manager, has the sense, before she decides to let the cleaners in and let the family members in, to go and take a video of the apartment.
It sounds like this apartment manager knows what's up.
Right.
This is totally stuff.
She's following better techniques to preserve this crime scene than the police department did. But she took a video of this whole thing. She calls the crime scene cleanup company. They sanitize the entire apartment. Completely cleaned. After it's cleaned, she lets Uncle Jimmy, Uncle James, I don't even know if he goes by Jimmy.
Whatever. We'll just call him Uncle Jimmy. Whatever.
Anyways, she lets him in. But the thing is, he doesn't just get a suit. He also takes a couple of items from the apartment that I feel like are very important to this investigation. He takes 3 laptops.
No way.
2 of which belonged to Ellen. One was her personal laptop, one was her work laptop.
What's her stuff for?
And Ellen's cell phone.
No.
Now, he claims later on that they took it because he said they were items of value that they didn't want to just leave unattended. But I don't think that I believe that, because one thing that he did not take is Ellen's diamond engagement ring, which was left on her nightstand and was also a family heirloom of Sam Goldberg's. but that was left behind.
And if you're going to have a cleanup crew come in, I would take the ring, make sure the ring's not in there.
Right.
That-
Well, at this point, the cleanup crew has come
Already
and gone.
gone.
Has come and gone.
Okay, yeah.
But if that's his excuse for taking those, it doesn't fly with me because he didn't take the diamond ring.
It sounds like he's trying to get a hold of and control digital footprints.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking as well. I guess I should mention that the police do eventually take custody of these items that he took, but they were in the custody of the family for a couple of days.
Who knows what he could have done with stuff at that point.
The chain of command is broken at that point. The evidence is compromised. The scene is compromised.
And if this dude is like a really high-powered attorney, he's got to know people that can do things with computers.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to get into the autopsy itself and what was actually found at this autopsy. And you're going to be shocked, okay? So upon examining Ellen's body, the medical examiner finds that she does not just have these 10 stab wounds to the chest.
What?
But she also has an additional 10 stab wounds.
What?
In the back of the head.
Okay, pause. She's got 10 stab wounds in her head?
Yes.
And in her torso. So 20?
Yes, 20 stab wounds. 10 times in the front and 10 times from behind.
Ain't nobody killing themselves from stabbing himself in the back of the head.
So the medical examiner observes 8 stab wounds in her chest, and the depth of those wounds range from 2 centimeters, which is about as long as a point of a pencil, to about 4 inches deep, which is the one that was in her heart. He also noted a 2-inch wound to her stomach and a 2.5-inch long gash across her scalp.
Whoa.
Yeah, the depth, the directions, and the multitude of stab wounds to the back of Ellen's upper neck and lower head, as described by the medical examiner, suggest that they were not self-inflicted.
No, heck no, because it sounds like all different kinds of angles happening.
Yes, and I just want you to think, if you were planning to kill yourself, does it not sound like the most painful way that you could pick to stab yourself all over the front of your body and then stab yourself in the back of the head?
I feel like your body would stop you from doing this.
Right.
I'm just trying to picture how she would stab herself in the back of the head.
It makes no sense.
It's ridiculous.
Yes. And at this point, I feel like the medical examiner, his name is Marlon Osborne. He's going to be a big player in this, so remember that name. Yes. I feel like he's starting to believe that this is a homicide and not a suicide. Not only did she have those injuries, she also had bruises on her body. Lots of bruises on her body that were all in different stages of healing. So they were all not inflicted during this attack, if you believe that somebody attacked her. These were leading up to the attack.
So her body is starting to heal from bruising.
From some of these bruises.
So
yes.
that indicates that maybe days before she's been hit. Or in the weeks leading up prior, she's been getting abused in some point. Somewhere.
Exactly. And she did have some bruising on her wrists, which another one of the reasons why this was deemed a suicide was because she supposedly had no defensive wounds. If somebody is grabbing your wrist and restraining you, how are you going to fight back with your hands?
Especially if you're caught off guard.
Exactly, like a blitz attack.
Exactly, yeah. And we obviously know that she has been making a fruit salad. Right, you know what I mean?
Yep.
She's probably she's probably just distracted, and then all of a sudden, grab your wrist, bam, 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 attack. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So in the death certificate information form that was completed after the autopsy, Osborne wrote that the immediate cause of Ellen's death was, quote, multiple stab wounds, and he described the cause of her extensive injuries as, quote, stabbed by another person.
Oh.
So he does not believe that this is a suicide. Remember, he was not at this scene. He's getting all of his information secondhand from the investigator, so he doesn't have these glasses on that everybody else does that this is a suicide.
As it should be.
And independently, he decides after looking at her body, this is not a suicide.
So the police allow all of these things to happen before this guy is even determining if it is a suicide or a homicide, which is, I'm going to guess, a huge no-no, because now all of a sudden the crime scene is gone.
Yes, and the police department actually requested that the medical examiner determined the cause of death as pending rather than homicide while they continued their investigation. And this is the point when they get the custody of the laptops and the phone back.
So it sounds like they're playing catch up.
They also get a warrant to go back to the scene of the crime and investigate. At this point, that is pointless. It's been completely sanitized. Any evidence that was there is gone. But it seems like they're starting to scramble because they realize, oh shoot, we screwed up. All the evidence is gone now, and this guy is going to deem it a homicide.
Exactly. And not only has it just been cleaned up by just, some random people, but it's been cleaned up by a professional homicide cleanup crew.
Exactly.
They're gonna get rid of tons of evidence that the average person wouldn't get rid of.
Exactly. So the police, I would say, now this is my opinion. This is just me spitballing. But I feel like they are starting to feel the heat and starting to feel the pressure of, we have seriously screwed up this investigation if this gets deemed a homicide. So they kind of start their own attack in the media. And in a bunch of the media reports about this in the days following, the police do not mention that the medical examiner has deemed this a homicide at all. They're still spinning the narrative that, well, it looks like it was a suicide and there's lots of information to point to a suicide, even though they know that the medical examiner at this point is leaning towards deeming it a homicide.
So they've asked him to say, make it pending. Don't give a final say in it or anything.
Yes.
Because I think they know they've got a wrongful death and lawsuit on their hands.
Right.
This is going to be really nasty. And some city attorney is looking at them going, guys, we have to prepare ourselves.
Yep. So I'm not going to read all of the quotes from the different news agencies, but the police department is doing everything that they can to try to convince the public that this is still probably going to be deemed a suicide, despite what the medical examiner has told them. And in the case of determining cause of death, that is left completely up to the medical examiner.
Has to.
That is not a group decision.
Yeah.
The police are not involved. The lawyers should not be involved. Nobody is involved in doing that except for the medical examiner. That power is his and his alone. But despite that, a meeting was called.
What?
A meeting. And the participants in this meeting were Dr. Osborne, the medical examiner.
Yeah.
2 of the police officers that were on the scene, a representative from the Attorney General's office,
okay,
and the medical examiner's boss. So
they're bringing in big guns.
Yes, and this type of meeting was completely unprecedented. This is not something that they do for every case.
No.
Before, the medical examiner and his boss have said in statements after that this was the first time that they had ever attended a meeting like this. And to me, the purpose of the meeting was, and let me preface this by saying, there is no notes from this meeting.
Of course there's not.
There's no notes. There's no record of this meeting.
And this is pure speculation on your part.
Yes. Yeah. But my gut is telling me that the purpose of this meeting was to try to bully the medical examiner into deeming this a suicide.
Well, his boss, representative of the Attorney General's office, the police officers, yeah.
Yeah.
Either that or it's a meeting to try to say, we screwed this up. How do we avoid the lawsuit? That's why we have so many attorneys in the room.
Exactly. It was very, very strange. So a couple of things were told to Dr. Osborne during this meeting. And before we get to that, I need to talk about one of the wounds that was in the back of Ellen's head. And the reason why this wound is so important is because it went through the spinal column. And the question that the medical examiner had that was not completely answered by his autopsy was, did the knife penetrate the spinal cord? And if it did, then it would render Ellen unable to commit any of the other stab wounds. And we know that the very last stab wound was the one to her chest that was still sticking out. So if she had cut into her spinal cord, it would have rendered her unable to do any of the other stab wounds, and case closed.
Yeah.
Homicide.
Totally, yeah.
So that was a very important wound. And Dr. Osborne, when he finished his autopsy, he hadn't drawn a complete conclusion about whether or not she was able to stab herself. So in this meeting, it is told to him that Sam Goldberg had to kick in the door, but it was told to him that Sam Goldberg was not alone when he kicked in the door. The story that Sam gave the police on the night of the incident was that when he came back upstairs to kick the door in, that the security guard was with him. And that the security guard witnessed him kick this door in. And that kind of swayed Dr. Osborne a little bit because he's thinking, okay, there's a witness to this. This obviously happened. He had to kick his way in. Ellen was completely by herself. So that swayed his decision. And he starts to kind of, drink the Kool-Aid a little bit as far as like the suicide theory. Another thing is he adds to his report that he had Ellen's spinal cord examined and that he had it examined by Dr. Lucy Rourke Adams, who is a pediatric neuropathologist. Now, the medical examiner's office at the time did not have a neurologist or a neuropathologist, so they would sometimes outsource work to this.
Of course, yeah.
Lucy Rourke Adams.
I don't think that's an uncommon thing.
No, but what was uncommon is this was what was described as a curbside examination. She was not looking at it under a microscope. She was not doing any kind of tests on it. It was like, let me show you this spinal column. You look at it and tell me what you think. Mm-hmm. And she determined that particular wound would not have made her incapacitated to the point where she couldn't do the rest of the wounds on her body. Yeah. So because of those two major things, Dr. Osborne does a 180 and decides, okay, I'm going to rule this a suicide. And it is announced in April that he's officially deemed this a suicide. And even sadder is that Ellen's parents found out about this change from the nightly news. Not even from the authorities themselves. They found out that this had been deemed a suicide.
That is just so low.
It is.
You would think that you wouldn't want to hear from the police or the investigators about what they determine the cause of death to be. I don't want to hear that on the news.
I know. It's very, very sad. But I gotta say, Ellen's parents are the real heroes in this story.
Really?
Because they are not just taking this lying down. They are not accepting this. They are convinced that their daughter had not committed suicide. And so rather than just accepting this, they did what I would do 100% and decide, okay, you're done investigating. We'll take it from here. We're going to get our own investigators. We're going to get our own experts. And we're going to prove to you that this is not a suicide and that you should be investigating this and that somebody is getting away with murder. And so we are going to leave the case here for today because there is still so much to share with you. Next week, I'm going to share what her family found in their own investigation and what they did with their findings. And guys, this case had movement just a week ago. And this happened in 2011. So
wow.
We're going to go over that as well. So don't miss part 2. And hopefully I haven't overwhelmed you. But
dude, I'm on pins and needles. Because honestly, if it was me, it was my kid, and I heard just like a little bit. The moment I heard that she was stabbed more than once, I'm like, no, we're investigating this ourselves.
Yes. And that is exactly what her parents did. So if you have theories about this, if you think you know what happened, or I want to hear about it. I want to hear your thoughts because this is a super interesting case. So go to our Instagram for this case and let me know on the post for this case what your thoughts are. And if you liked this episode, if you would consider subscribing or giving me a review, I would super appreciate it. Thank you so much for you guys' support. And yeah, thank you, Patrick, for being here with me today.
This was fun. You have a lot of fun. Yeah.
It has been fun. Okay, so we will see you next week, you guys. And in the meantime, I'll be snooping, so you don't have to. This is She Investigates, signing off.